Hey yo, what up? It's your boy Street Coder Nate, and welcome back to Street Coders. So in the last couple videos, we've been going through the development process for our Instagram scraper. So what we're going to do today is now go through step number 3, which is initializing our project repositories. Yeah, we getting into the code. Y'all seen step 1 was the idea. Step 2 was bring it to life a little bit. We didn't put too much color on it. We'll do it as we get there with the design. But step 3 now is actually creating our folders, connecting our local repository to our GitHub repository, and just talking a little bit about serving our code out to, let's say, someplace like Heroku or something along the lines. Let's get with it. Let's get to it. Let's get it. All right, bet. Moving on. I need one of them little clickers. All right, bet. So the first thing that I do when I start a project is first head over to GitHub, right? GitHub, you can go here, GitHub, like that. You should start you a repository if you don't already, or you should start you an account if you don't already. So GitHub is like Google Cloud. It's like Google Drive. You know, if you got a Google Drive account, you can put your files up there. You can put little PDFs up there, images and whatnot. Well, this is Google Cloud pretty much, but it's for your code. It's for any software that you're developing. You can go ahead and put it on GitHub. That's what GitHub is. I know people mix Git and GitHub. No, I just described GitHub. So for anybody that thought GitHub was different, that's what GitHub is. Just like a cloud service for your code. Now, Git is the actual program that's doing all those version controls, which we will get into. Okay, so what do I do here? Well, first off, I start a new project repository. So if you come over here to the left, you see it says new, and you just click on a new project repository. So what I'm doing basically is creating, let's say, in terms of Google Drive, I'm creating a folder on my Google Drive right now for me to store my code in later on. And so this folder is asking me, it says, what's my repository name? And actually, repository is another word for folder. Like folder and repository and directory, they're all the same words. They mean the same thing, or the different words, but meaning the same thing, synonyms. So, okay, so the repository name, I'm gonna call this one Insta Scrapa, like that. Bet. And add a little description. It's optional, but you might as well. And honestly, the description can be the purpose of the application, which we did in the ideation stage. So this application will allow users to search Instagram accounts without logging into their account. It will bring, we can put all that other information in the README. Okay, bet. That's good enough. Just a little quick description. Bet. All right, bet. And now you can say public or private. So public or private means that somebody could search up my application. They could literally go to github.com/Nate2427/Instascraper, and they will be able to access my code for this project. But if I make it private, then they won't be able to do that. Like, they will need access to do that. So you kind of think of a Google Drive as being able to share the link or not sharing the link type shit. All right. And then initialize with a readme. Let's just go with that. And a Git Ignore. The reason I do a Git Ignore is because I know we're about to tap in with a React, with a MERN JS, with a MERN project, which means that it's pretty much going to have Node.js in it. And so this Git Ignore will allow all the weird Node.js files that get generated when the Node.js code gets compiled. It's going to allow all of that to be ignored. So that's dope. Cool. So now let's create this repository. Bet. So now I got my Insta repository created. It's just in the cloud. What I'm going to do now is create a local repository and connect it to this remote repository. Remote being somewhere away, local being right here at the crib, right on my system. So let's create this local repository. So the first way I create my local repository, I go ahead and grab me a terminal real quick. Tap, 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 tap. Does it look big over there yet? All right, cool. So I got me a terminal. Actually, I'll just make it full screen. All right, bet. So got me a terminal, and what I want to do is first see where I'm at. PWD. All right, so I'm in the users, street coders Nate. So I'm gonna go ahead and CD into my desktop or into my documents, and let's see what type of folders I have up in here. Let's just do this inside of front end work CD. I got, because it's gonna be a, nope, this is a full stack application actually. So you know what, I'm gonna create, I don't have a folder for full stack applications, so I'm gonna create a folder for my full stack applications. Full stack, I'm gonna go full stack underscore apps. So for any apps that I'm about to make in this channel or on this channel, I'm gonna put them inside of this directory called full stack apps. And so inside of this directory, every single time that I'm about to create an app, I'm gonna come to this directory and I'm going to, what am I going to do? So first I'm going to come to this directory, and then I'm going to create a new directory for the project that I'm working on. And so this project is called Insta Scraper. Cool. So I just made that directory, and then I'm going to go into that directory by doing a CD into Insta Scrapa. Bet. All right, so ls and now, or pwd. And now you see that we are inside of the Insta Scraper. And I see that I'm also using some Anaconda stuff. So let me Conda deactivate. Oh, I said deactivator. Deactivate. Cool. Cool. All right. So now I'm using Insta Scraper. I'm in my Insta Scraper folder. And you can see that there are no files inside my Insta Scraper folder. So let's now, what's the first thing do I do? So the first thing I do now that I'm in this Insta Scraper folder is that I need to initialize it as a Git repo. So what is Git? I told y'all what GitHub was, and now you hear Git. So Git is it's called a version control system, right? It's weird. But what we mean by that is that while you're creating code, you can create different versions of your code without like copying over your code to another file or to another folder and having two sets of your code on the same system. What it actually does is it keeps multiple versions of your code within the same folder, and you can switch between those versions by using the Git program. And then you can like create versions as you go. Like what is a version? A version is pretty much like it's a point in time. It's like you pause in a point in time. Let's say you go to the hospital, right? You're going to the hospital, and in the hospital they checking your vitals. And so they tell you at that specific point in time what your vitals look like. At that specific point in time. That is a version of your vitals, a version of you, or whatever. So here, it's the same thing. You get a version. Whenever you just take a moment to take the look at the data, look at the files and everything, what they look like at that moment in time, that's a version. And then you commit that version, and then you continue going on, and you can make more versions. And the point of that is that you can go back to other versions if you mess up in the future. You can go back to previous versions, and it's real dope. And so we can, and GitHub is dope because it's a Google Drive for Git. So therefore, it's going to manage all of our versions. It's going to help us connect to different branches and repos. It's real dope. We're going to get more into that in the channel. But right now, we just need to initialize this as a Git repo. So the way we do that is git init. Type in like that. Git init. Cool. Which is undefined. All right, so here you see it says initialize empty Git repository. Cool. So if I do a ls, it still look like I ain't got nothing, but to be honest, you gotta do ls-a, and you'll see that the .git repository is here. So bet. Now I got now my current repository is a Git repository. Now because it's a Git repository, I can connect to GitHub. Cool. So the way I'm going to connect to GitHub is by saying git remote add. So saying git remote add, what is this saying? So I'm calling on a Git program. Git is a program, and I'm saying Git, you have a library called remote. So I'm calling the program Git, and I'm calling on this library remote, and then I said inside your library you have a function called add. So I'm going to call on that function. And so add takes in one parameter. The parameter is the name of the remote repository that you want. So you can just, it's a variable name. You can make it up whatever. Some people choose origin. I like to go with GitHub because I connect to multiple different remote repositories. So this one is just going to be my GitHub repository. And so then it says, here's the variable name, or it takes two parameters. It takes the variable name, and then it takes the URL for the variable to be, or the URL that's going to be stored inside that variable name. Usually we do origin, and then you put your URL to your GitHub repo, but we're going to do GitHub and put the URL to our repo right here. Boom. You know, everything went smooth if it just went like that. Cool. So now we just connected GitHub to, or the name GitHub, that repo. See, if I do git remote, you will see that I have a remote repository called GitHub. And we just connected that to the actual git at github.com Nate2427 / instascraper.git. Cool. So now what I can do is do a git pull, GitHub main. And why do I say GitHub main? So what is pull? So once again, Git is the program, and I'm saying Git, you have a function. This time I'm saying you have a function. You gotta know the difference sometimes. But Git, you have a function called pull. I need you to pull. What is pull? Pull is related to remote actions. It means that it's going to pull data from a remote host. And so therefore it needs to know the remote host's name, which is GitHub. And then it needs to know, okay, which branch do you want to pull? And so I said main because main is the name of the branches, every single branch that's created. As you can see right there, main. Cool. So I said pull from GitHub the main branch. There you go. Just pull. And I do an ls. You see the README is there. Cool. I just connected my repository. We are eating. So now if I do a git status, this is just going to tell me the status of my repository, because remember, Git it's a tracking system. It's tracking your version, so it's always watching your files. It's always watching to see when your files change from the last version that you actually created. And I haven't made any versions yet, except that I just pulled a commit down from above, which is current version, but there's no changes since then. So cool. But we about to make some changes, and the changes that we about to make is connecting our repository to, or actually getting some backend code onto our repository. And so I'm about to show y'all a real quick way to get a backend Node.js server spun up ridiculously quickly. And the way that we do that is by saying git clone, and we need a GitHub link to clone. So what are we going to clone? Well, let's come here to my GitHub, and I realize that I do the same processes multiple times while I create backends or front ends. So what I did was go ahead and create a express with Mongo starter, meaning this is pretty much that's the backend. That's the backend code. It's like the same. It's the same starter code. Like you always gotta get a router, and then you gotta connect the router, and all of these different things with the backend. Well, that does it every single time. So whenever I need a project that has a backend, I just come here, pull this code. I got my backend already started. So cool. Let's come do that. So I need this link, and this is a public link, so you can also come here too. So the link is GitHub, or git at github.com /Nate Baker. You know, I'll just put it in the description. All right, bet. Cool. Andy there, git clone. All right, we do a ls. And now what you see is express with Mongo starter is inserted as well. Cool, but I don't really like that express with Mongo starter inside of the folder for my actual project. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take all the files that's inside this folder, because let me do a ls on the folder for y'all. Ls express. See, if you look inside the express folder, you got the readme, the config, the package.json, the routes, and the server.js. And I just see that the readme, and if I bring all these files to this current directory above, the readmes will clash. So what I'll have to do is delete one of the readmes, which I will remove the express readme. Actually, okay, so now if we do ls on the express, there's no readme anymore. And now what I'm going to do is bring all those files to this current directory by doing move, and then I say express, and then I'll do a star, which means all of them hoes, and I say I'm gonna bring it here, and then I also want to go ahead and remove RF on the express folder afterwards. So what I'm doing is I'm bringing all the files from the express folder to my current directory, and then I'm taking to my current directory, and then I'm going to remove that folder name from it. So all I should have is just all the files, and I shouldn't see the express. So ls, and as you see, I just have my files, and let's do a quick little ls. Cool. So we got the files. So what I'm gonna do is open up Visual Studio Code real quick. Code, bada boom, bada bam, and let's see. What I like to do before I push my code is make sure that my code can be fired up, that it can be ran. Because I don't like pulling code that isn't operable, because then I gotta go fix it. Never push code that can't work. That's fucked up for the person that gotta use it afterwards. So yeah. So what we about to do is make sure that this code works. So I know that this code has a server right here that's connecting to port 444. So I need to go ahead and start up a MongoDB server. Mongo right there. Cool. I just started up that server, and now I also need to start up the app by saying, well, before I can start the app, I also need to do npm init not init, sheesh, npm install. No. All right, cool. It didn't init. Dope. Let me see, package.json. Dope. Okay, we need to do npm install, not init, my bad. So we need to do npm install, which will install all of these dependencies from your package.json. And now that we did that, now we can run npm run dev. And where did I get that from? I got that from the scripts, which is going to run node mon server.js, and we're going to run enter. Bang. App finished connecting to the DB at HTTP localhost 444, and server started and listening on port 54321. Bet our code is up and is connected to the database that we're going to use. What we're going to do now is push this code to our GitHub, and now we will have our code connected. So I'm going to stop the servers, and now what I can do is do a Git Status. Yep, cool. So the red tells me everything that I just changed, or things that I just added that aren't being watched. It's called being tracked in Git. And so what Git does is it tracks your files to see if there's been any changes since the last version. And so what this says is, since the last time you pulled code, these new files right here just showed up. So they're red. That we're saying we're not tracking them. We're not tracking their changes. If you're going to make any changes, do you want me to track them? So what I say is git add -a, and this is going to say track everything. Right? Cool. Bet. And so now if I do a git status, it should turn up green. It says, all right, cool. We tracking all of these files right here, but do you want to commit these files? Like, do you want to make a version? Okay, now that we're tracking these files, do you want to make a version? Because you change stuff in these files. Do you want to make a version and then continue on afterwards? And I'm like, you know what? Let's make a version. So the way that we make a version is git commit, and our commit takes a message. So we have to pass the flag M with quotations, and then between the quotations is our message. And so we will say, this is the initial backend code. Bet. Cool. My bad. I spelled it wrong. It's not comment, it's commit. But it'll catch you. Git commit, bet. And now you see we just created those nodes. Those nodes meaning we just created a version. Our version is cool. Like I said, Git tracks your files from the last version you created. And so if you think about it, we haven't done anything since the last version we created. We literally just created a version like 10 seconds ago, like doing that git commit. So now if we do a git status, there shouldn't be any changes, right? Because we haven't made any changes since the last version. So let's see, git status. Okay, on branch master, nothing to commit, working tree is clean, meaning that we haven't made any changes. But let's make one change here. Okay, and then let's save it. Oh wait, let's make a change like A. Right there, I put the A here. Cool. And now if I come here and do a git status, you see that package.json has been modified. It tells you it's been modified, it's red. So now if I wanted to add the change, I have to create a new commit. That's the point of Git and whatnot. But I'm gonna come back here and watch this real cool thing is that I took the A off. Although I put the A on before, I took it off now. And so if I do a git status, this is cool. It says there's no changes. It compared all the files and said there was no changes though. Like, yeah, you might have put the A there before, but hey, it's the same as the last commit. That's kind of dope. Okay, so now where does GitHub come in hand? Well, this all little tracking stuff is happening on the system using Git. So now if we want to, let's say, have our code in the cloud, we can reach our code from anywhere, and we can also see all of our commits as well in the cloud from anywhere. We use a cloud system, and GitHub is one of those. You also have Bitbucket, you have Azure DevOps. There are many different Git services, cloud. There are many different Git cloud services that you can push your code to, but GitHub is just one that kind of blew up pretty much. But yeah, we use Azure DevOps, which is pretty much GitHub because Microsoft bought it, but it's real dope at Microsoft. I also use it for my personal projects. Maybe I'll teach y'all how to use it. So we'll do the way that we push our code. Well, you saw that pull. Pull was more like downloading the code from above. Push or pull. So push is actually uploading the current code that we have. So let's git push, and we have to say GitHub, and then we say main. Oh, I forgot. So down here you see master, and it says there's no reference. Failed to push refs to GitHub, yada yada, because there's no rest main. So basically I don't have a branch main. My current branch, if you look at it, git branch is master. They changed it, thank God for GitHub, right? It's probably because of Microsoft, but thank God they changed the original name of the branch. It used to be master branch, and all that racist shit was happening. So they was like, you know what, that's kind of fucked up to put master branch. Let's change it to main branch. And so Git probably hasn't caught up yet, and they still using master. So what you need to do is say git branch, and you need to change your main branch. So you say -M. This is your main branch. You're changing the main branch name, and you're changing it to main like that. And now we are on git branch, and it's main. So now I can go git push GitHub main, and now I just pushed my code up to GitHub, successful. And let's go check it out. Refresh. Oh wait, no, that's not it. Nate, where we at? Repos and Insta scraper. Look, got all the code here. We got the config file, the routes. Remember, before we just had the README. That was it. And also you can see, like, this is the initial backend code. This is the initial backend code, and that was committed 4 minutes ago versus the Git Ignore right here. This Git Ignore wasn't changed when I touched it. I didn't never touch the Git Ignore, nor did I touch the README. Therefore, their times that they was updated, as you can see over there, is at 19 minutes versus right above where it's 4 minutes. Those are the actual changes that I just made 4 minutes ago. So Git and GitHub are really integrated, and they watch over for that. So that was connecting the repositories. We have to connect it. We didn't even connect the server. We're going to wait for that one for the deployment process. What we're going to do now is just use our backend and start developing our backend for the actual application. And I'll see y'all in that video. So peace.